Imagine spending thousands of dollars building a movie collection, a music library, or a game shelf, only to find out one day that you never actually owned any of it. That's not science fiction anymore. That's the direction entertainment is heading in. Welcome back to Catalyst Corner. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
We talk pop culture, fandoms, and the business behind them. Not all hype, not all hate, just honest takes. We run a small creative business, so we're not just fans, we're watching how the machine actually works. So this week, the breakdown is titled The Death of Physical Media. And the reason I wanted to cover this topic is this has always been something that's going on in the background.
Sure.
But Sony last week took a very hard stance and announced that they're eliminating physical game media by 2028.
Yep.
So let's get into it. First point is physical media has always kind of quietly been disappearing. And it's deeper than games, right? You can't really go anywhere and buy DVDs anymore. Best Buy doesn't really sell DVDs anymore. I know Walmart still has a DVD section.
Yeah.
But there are very few places that you can go to get, DVDs and Blu-rays. Music at this point is almost entirely streaming.
Right.
PC gaming has been almost entirely streaming for quite a while now. Mm-hmm. And now with the consoles, we have Sony announcing that they're eliminating physical discs by 2028. And Xbox is starting to tease the idea as well. We're hearing that the new console might not have a disk drive. So, we're phasing out all physical media at this point. And it's not just, corporate greed. It is to a large extent, but consumers are often choosing the convenience of digital over the ownership of physical.
Right.
And, I thought we could kind of talk about sort of the glory days of physical media at the beginning. And, I think we could start with maybe music, right?
Sure.
Skipping past cassettes and getting into sort of CDs and even to a lesser extent vinyl, because that kind of had a comeback for a while.
Yeah.
A band would drop an album, and then there'd be sort of the deluxe edition or the collector's edition of the album, right? And you'd get the booklet or a book, depending on which album it came with, that had, the lyrics all printed in it. It had...
you can get posters sometimes.
Posters of the bands.
Yeah. You can get, album fold-outs with, band photos or whatever, photos of anything related to that particular album. Yeah.
Right. And
it was a thing. Like, that was a thing. Getting a CD or an album and seeing those extras were part of the experience, not just listening to the songs on the disc.
Right. And I think, when you see like 80s movies and stuff where they go into like a teenager's room or whatever and there's posters on the wall, right? Yep. A lot of those came from albums.
Right.
You'd buy the album, you'd get the poster, you'd have the booklet, you could read the lyrics, you could read the story behind the songs and things like that. And that's all but gone.
Sure.
At this point.
Yeah, it's not something that the younger generations care about. Because the reality of it too is that the younger generations like songs. They don't like bands, and they don't like the entirety of the album. They want to hear a song and then move on to the next song. Right,
and that's something that's really affected the musical industry, right?
For sure.
Because, there are timeless albums.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And when that shift happened, where it stopped being about the band and the album, and it started to be about, what's hot today, the songs became plastic. and disposable. And we covered that a couple episodes ago on why media is disposable. But, now you're seeing, and don't get me wrong, there are some outliers. Taylor Swift has a very good team manufacturing her stuff, right?
Sure, yeah.
So,
I mean, there are some, but, but somebody said this the other day, in sticking with music, right? Where's the next Rolling Stones, Beatles, Ozzy, right? They don't exist anymore.
No.
Because people don't cherish the bands anymore. They just cherish a song by that. I like that song by that artist, whomever that might be. And you may need, in a lot of cases, they don't even know who it is. They know the name of who performs it, but they don't really know that band or that singer. They just know of them, but I like that song by them, and that's, I just want to download that. And then if you said, oh, you know about them, or do you hear the rest of it, like, I don't care about that. Like, that's not of interest to me. Whereas, back in my day and in your day, I mean, we would dissect every bit of not only the album, but what it packaged in.
Right. And to an even greater extent, you would listen to an album front to back, right? And that album would have a personality.
Sure, right? Absolutely.
And you would get multiple albums from bands and stuff, and a lot of times each album would have its own distinct personality.
Yes.
And it's still, like I said, there are outliers. Like, I think a great example of, an outlier would be Ghost.
Sure.
Right? Ghost delivers albums.
But Ghost, they themselves go to that old school way of doing it, like from the 80s and 90s. Like,
right, even to the extent of their concerts, it's
performative, right? Absolutely.
It's not just a singer on stage. Right. There's set pieces.
No, that's a whole theatrical performance,
right? And what I think is interesting about that is that you have a band like Ghost that sort of, holds on to that old school mentality, and people eat it up.
Sure.
So it's not like it's something that there isn't a want for.
Right. Because again, because you have something to attach to, right? The characters that they have created, right? So it's not just I love their music and what that represents, but I love the whole atmosphere of what they do. I love the characters. I love what they're trying, what that album is trying to convey, because all their albums, they do different things. They're different characters conveying different messages, and the fan base, they eat that up. Of course, they want, because that's the thing. They take to the band, and the band matters to them. There's meaning to the band itself, whereas you're not just a disposable singer on stage playing a singular song that I like.
And I think that's a testament to sort of, living in this digital age, right? Because a lot of their albums are still digital.
Sure.
But getting people to attach to the band.
Right.
And there are very few that do that. I mean, here's a good example, right? If you watch Saturday Night Live, right? The idea behind Saturday Night Live is you're getting either classic musicians, Paul McCartney was on there recently and stuff like that, or you're getting whatever's
the flavor of the month,
right? Whatever's upcoming or popular or hip in New York City, right? And I think what's kind of interesting is if you look at the last couple seasons of Saturday Night Live and who their musical guests were, they're fucking gone now.
Sure,
a lot of them are gone.
Yeah.
So there's not the longevity. Never mind in just the songs and just the music. There's not the staying power of the musician anymore either. Well,
that again goes back to you're only a singular song, and when that song is played out, even though it still may last, and you'll hear it from time to time. You weren't an album. You weren't a stage show. You weren't a video. You were just a one song. And when I moved on from that song to the next, you're no longer relevant. And that's what it is. There is no attachment other than that one popular song. There's no attachment to the artist anymore like it used to be. And I think that has and that's why I think you can get rid of the physical media, because you don't need any. The younger generation doesn't need it because they don't care enough about all the other stuff other than that one song.
But I wonder how much of that is a symptom of accessibility.
Well, that has a lot to do with it, I would assume, because of the fact that before you would have it on the radio here and there, but if you wanted it, you would have to play it on your own.
Buy it.
Right, you'd have to have your own physical media in order to play it. And now, with digital, type in a couple keystrokes and
right, your
everything is right there.
Yep. So moving on from music, we had Blu-rays and DVDs, right? And you had collector's editions.
Sure.
And a lot of times what would come with those would be commentaries.
Right. Directors talking about
actors
making
going
it.
through the process. I think a great example is The Lord of the Rings, right? They came out with the extended edition, collector's editions, right?
Yeah.
Which was it's a 4-hour movie right off the bat.
Right.
But then there's 20 hours of commentary.
Right.
So you were giving fans access to sort of inside information, to sort of deepen the lore, explain the process, and, aside from the stuff that came with music too, the posters and the maps and things like that, you had that, deeper level of being able to connect with properties that you love.
Right.
Now when you buy a digital, rent, buy, watch a digital piece of media, you get the movie.
Right.
And that's it. And, I've seen what they consider now to be, extra content is it'll be a 5-minute, short documentary type of thing, or a podcast. So, which again is very disposable. It's not like you can go back and enjoy that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what you sort of lose on the DVD Blu-ray side of things.
Yep.
And then with games, you had collector's editions. Sometimes they would come with statues. Sometimes they would come with, props from the game. You'd get a steel book that you could put on your shelf, things like that. And that's going to be going away. I mean, ultimately, if we're removing physical media from the equation, you're going to lose, that element. And what I think is strange is that's a moneymaker for these guys. I don't understand why they'd want to sort of remove that.
Yeah, and I think it all comes back to the level of fandom, right? I think fandom in and of itself is different than it used to be. I think everything now is just, I like it in the here and now, and I can quickly move on to the next thing. And,
very, very few things have any type of staying power.
Right. And before that stuff, because of the fandom and because of, how deep into the fandom you are, that stuff mattered. That stuff was important. That stuff was things that you would either, display or you talk to your friends about. Those are all things that helped deepen your love for that product, whatever that might be, that IP or whatever the case might be. And they're taking that away because the fandom doesn't have that relationship anymore. And so they're seeing that, and they're saying, well, if you don't care about it, then we don't care about it.
Right. So that brings me on to our second point here, and that is that buying isn't the same as owning.
Right.
And I think this is probably the biggest point of or the biggest argument for keeping physical media around. And purchasing digital content often grants you a license.
Right.
Not permanent ownership. And I know none of us read the terms and conditions of things, but if you sit down and scroll through them, it distinctly says, by purchasing this product digitally, you are purchasing a license to use this product. So you don't own any of it.
Right.
And
exactly.
What does that mean for the consumer? That means, digital stores can close. And if that happens, there's no recourse for you.
Right.
That content is just gone.
Right. That means at any given time, they can shut that down, and you don't have anything that you can do to recoup whatever it is that you invested into it. So, yeah, that's a major difference that I don't think that too many people think enough about when they're making these purchases and the difference between the two. Because they just, you just think, well, yeah, but I bought it. It's going to be there forever. So even if it says that, what's the odds of it going away? But there is a chance. Regardless of whether it does or not, the chance is there that it could.
Right. It went from 0 to whatever percentage.
Right.
But with a physical piece of media, you're at 0.
Right. Yeah.
And never mind stores closing, license agreements can expire.
Right. Exactly.
We just saw that happen in the UK and Europe. Sony removed 511 movies from their storefront because their licensing agreement expired.
Right.
So these people paid full price for these movies, and they're just gone now.
Right.
And there's no refund or anything. They just lost their license to view it.
Right.
And another thing we're seeing is movies, TV shows, games, they've all disappeared from digital storefronts over the years. I mean, even though it's not good, right? You can't watch the Willow TV series legally.
Right.
That's just gone.
Right. Yeah. Once it was deplatformed, it's no longer accessible by legal means.
Right. So, I mean, we have case studies where this has happened. And then even on the gaming front, online-only games become unplayable when the servers shut down.
Right.
And they do shut down. As interest wanes, these companies say it's not worth the cost of keeping the servers running. They shut the server down, and then the game you paid full price for, $60, $70, $80 for, becomes unplayable.
Yeah, what was that? Concord, right? What was that?
Yeah, Concord.
One just
Concord
not that long ago, a couple months ago, whatever it was.
And I think the issue and the reason why, there aren't more people screaming about this is because in a lot of these case studies, it's been with shitty media, right?
Sure.
Willow was shitty. Concord was shitty. But again, it's just a case study to show you that, it doesn't matter what it is, it can be taken away.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's as we just said, it may be a long shot, but it's no longer 0 that it could be, that it's yours forever. It's no longer at that 0 point. Maybe it's only a 2% chance it could, but there's still a chance. And as long as there's a chance to do it, you always, that's always something you have to be wary of. Whereas with physical media, you never have that concern.
Right. And so the question becomes, if someone can take it away, did you ever really own it in the first place?
Well, no, absolutely not.
Right. So I mean, that's the thing is that as we kind of boldly, march into this digital future. These are real concerns that the consumers have, and there's no consumer protection behind any of this.
I mean, that's at that point you're renting. You're not owning, you're renting, because again, just like when you rent a movie on demand, right? You get 48 hours, right? But after 48 hours, you no longer have access to it. Now, maybe this game is 48 months, but at 48 months, they could take it away. So it's the same thing. You've paid for something to use it for a finite amount of time that could get taken away from you. So therefore, you can't claim ownership at that point, because if you can get it taken away from you and there's no recourse, and the people that did it are in their legal right to do so, then no, you have no ownership to that. You're just renting.
Right. So in a lot of ways, physical or even entertainment, never mind physical media, entertainment is becoming, a rental property.
Right.
At this point. Like you're not going to own anything.
No, you're just going to have it. You're going to have it for as long as the machine allows you.
The machine says you can have it.
Exactly.
And, that's a pretty dark future, in my opinion.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, again, you're losing the collectability of the media, which gives it less staying power, which makes fans want to engage with it less, right? And the only medium that seems to have survived this digital apocalypse is books, and
right.
And they have their digital counterparts, but it seems like the book crowd, and maybe to a lesser extent even the comic book crowd, has sort of rejected the idea of digital only. They want a physical book or a physical comic in their hands.
And DC was going down that route, right? And there was a time where there was a thought that DC might stop publishing physical media and just go strictly to a digital only format, and it failed so miserably that they ultimately scrapped that idea. And Marvel, again, both have digital stores, but neither one of them are looking at it saying, no, we're going to scrap physical media, because they know they're going to lose a good chunk. Because the thing about it is, with comic books, it's not just, and this is with music too, right? Having that physical piece, whether it be a comic book, whether it be an album, right? There's also, besides the collectability, there's also the visibility of display. Right, you have a comic with a great cover. You display it. You have an album with a great cover. You're still showing. You go online right now, and you'll see. How many times someone is going to be flashing Iron Maiden albums because of how great the covers are, and people, you may not even know the songs on it, but you're looking at those covers, and that stuff still resonates with a big chunk of the audience because of how cool that is. And people aren't going to just have, there's a difference. If you get a really awesome cover and you're just looking at it on your phone, it is not the same as holding it in your hand.
No, or you can't put something that's on your phone on your wall.
Right. All of that, that all really does matter to a certain percent of the audience that still wants that stuff, and it's vitally important. And I think that getting rid of it, hurts, because like everything, I think that's going to come back around again.
Yeah, I mean, the question, I kind of agree with you to an extent. I think the question becomes, how long does it take? Right, because I think we're seeing the digital apocalypse. I think that's happening,
sure,
whether we like it or not. And I think what's going to happen is people will put up with it until they won't.
Right.
Right? As soon as, again, right now, our only case studies are with shitty media.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's crying about Willow TV show, and nobody's crying about Concord. But when something that people love disappears, I think is when you'll start to see pushback.
Mm-hmm.
You know? All right, so that brings me on sort of to the next point of all this, and ultimately it's, you know, convenience won.
Sure.
You know, consumers embrace digital, and there are pros and cons to it. It's not like it's all negative. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen.
No.
Right?
I mean, hey, look, there's a lot of people that don't want the clutter.
Right.
They don't want the space that it takes to have all the physical, and digital makes life so much more clean and convenient. So I again, I agree that there is pros to it as well, for sure.
Right. So pros, there's no clutter, right? Like you said. And, you know, I have a library of DVDs and physical video games and stuff, and they take up a huge...
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge footprint.
Sure.
Instant downloads, you know, with the internet being as fast as it is now. I mean, it's not like in the early 2000s where you'd have to wait 8 hours to get a movie or a TV show. It's instant. It's 5 minutes and it's yours.
Right.
Type of thing. You don't have to worry about damaged media.
Right.
Discs degrade over time. Sometimes even just sitting on your shelf, if you go to play it, it's not going to work. Discs scratch, discs break.
Right.
You know, it's not a it's not a foolproof
heat
system.
Elements,
right?
Conditions of temperature affects it. You know, there's a lot of it. Also, you know, you don't have to leave your house to get it. Right.
No need to go to a store. You know, no, you don't have to worry about scarcity. You know,
right.
I remember. This is a interesting point. I remember when Mortal Kombat Deception came out, which was probably like the early 2000s, like like maybe 2005 or something like that. And you couldn't get your hands on it because there were no physical discs. And it was just very frustrating because it's like, hey, I want to play this game, and there's just no way to play it.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, there's that element of it. And a lot of times you'll get early access to things with digital. You know, you'll get it much sooner than you would get it on a physical disc because they don't have to stamp the discs.
Right. Right. And then, you know, you don't have to ship it to stores. The stores don't have to take it out and put it into displays and, you know, all of the time that it takes to do those things. So, yeah, I mean, that there are plenty of pros to understand why it's as popular as it is. For sure. No doubt.
But cons, there's no resale.
Right.
Right. You can't lend your movies or your music or to your friends. You know how many CDs my buddies used to let me borrow?
Well, that's the thing. You know, how do you experience new things without the ability to have somebody bring it to your attention? That you know, again, you could say, well, I come over to my house, but you know, when we were younger, you know, it was all done through at school.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
hey, listen to this album.
Right.
Right. Listen to this CD I just got. It's awesome. And that's gone with digital. And what it ends up doing is it becomes very isolationist, right? Like I could watch something and love it.
Right.
But I can't lend it to you.
Right.
So then you have to go and purchase it or find it and experience it in a sort of vacuum.
Right.
So it takes that sort of connection that you feel that you have with someone else over a shared property.
Right. Right. And you know, again, you miss in other things is like if you're at a record store or a DVD store or something, you can find people that are purchasing the same thing, and you could strike up conversations. You could get to meet and branch out to meeting people, and you could find, your next lifelong friend just because you met, buying the same album. You don't have, you are missing out on some social and personal connections.
Right. It was a much more social experience, being able to share physical media or enjoy it, or even a step further, right? Let's say I bought a movie, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to hang out at your house, and I bring it, and we can watch it together.
Right.
You can't do that anymore. It's, hey, if we want to watch this, you have to either come to me or buy it.
Right.
So that, that sense of bonding over a property is gone.
Right.
So I think that's a huge con.
Yeah.
Another real big con, no collecting.
Right.
Right? There are people that have walls of CDs or DVDs or Blu-rays.
Oh, yeah.
Or even video games. That's an art piece to them. A library akin to a book library, right?
Right.
And so that's out the door.
Yeah.
The biggest one, I think, is no true ownership. We already kind of covered that. Is that you own nothing at this point. You're just licensing out the media until they decide your license expires. And everything is dependent on accounts, servers, and platform holders.
Right.
So then you end up having, these big conglomerates buying up the IPs and hoarding them, and maybe you have access to them and maybe you don't have access to them, but they own them. So, I think a great example of this, even with physical media, was the Disney Vault bullshit.
Right.
Where they would lock their properties in the vault so you couldn't get a hold of them.
Right.
And then every anniversary they might release, they do a run.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that doesn't sit wet. That never sat well with me. There should be no gatekeeping to that degree. There should never be an inability to watch something that's been put out.
Right.
Whether you like Willow or not, you should have access to it.
Sure. Yeah, especially because you're paying for the platform that it was released on, and therefore you're paying for access to anything that was on that particular platform. And now if they take it away from you, right, yes, I understand they're going to add, but if that was something you liked or you just wanted to watch it because you're like, hey, I heard so much bad about it.
Yeah, let me see what all the fuss is about.
And you're told you can't, even though you're paying for that service, but you can't watch something on that service. Well, yeah, that's gatekeeping, and that is right there a prime example of, not that you own any of that, but showing how little you do own.
I think a really interesting quote is from Gabe Newell, who is the CEO of Valve, who created Steam.
Okay.
And the quote is something along the lines of, piracy was never a price issue. It was always a service issue.
Sure.
So if you gatekeep these things, people will turn to piracy to get access to them.
Right.
If they're available, I think most reasonable people are happy to pay the fee.
Sure.
To buy the ticket.
Sure.
Whatever that looks like, whether it's a subscription service to streaming, whether it's buying a piece of physical media, whether it's renting, whatever it is, right? But when you start to, utilize the digitization of media as a weapon,
yep,
people will turn to piracy to get whatever fix they look like, and you'll never be able to stop piracy.
Right.
I mean, we're in 2026, and it's a Hydra situation. You shut down one site, and 3 sites pop up in its place. So,
yeah, you're never going to prevent it from happening, but the only way to prevent it from happening is access to whatever it is. Because, again, sticking with Willow is awful. One of the worst shows ever made. But when you tell people they can't have it, people now want it. Just for the sake of you're telling me I can't have it, so I want it, regardless of the quality of it.
It's the parent telling the child no.
Right, exactly.
So that actually leads perfectly into point 4, which is, I think, another really big issue is what happens to preservation. And I think this is the biggest long-term concern for digital media. How do future generations experience today's entertainment if they don't have access to it? If digital copies just allow you a license and then you pull that license, future generations will not have access to today's media.
Right.
Physical copies, under the right conditions, can survive for decades, so you'll have that. But digital libraries can disappear with licensing or server shutdowns, and preservation is increasingly dependent on publishers rather than consumers.
Sure.
And I think what's really interesting about that is if you forget today's media, right? If you look at sort of the silent film era, right? How many films were lost?
Oh, a tremendous amount.
Tremendous. And there are some that were recovered because they were in a fucking guy's basement.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing is that we've lost so much media that was only able to be recovered from, there was a reel in this guy's basement. We were able to remaster it and we can bring it to you. Or TV shows that disappeared, but somebody had them on tape and then they were able to digitize it and keep it around. So,
right. But that's the thing. If, the physical media exists, and as long as the physical media exists, it will forever exist. Because you can always, once you have, as long as you have access to be able to continue to produce it, then it'll continue to exist. But if it's just a digital piece and that digital piece disappears,
it's gone
forever.
Right. And that's the thing is that, again, we've seen case studies of this where many, many, many films of the past and television shows have only survived because consumers have kept physical media. So relying on publishers to preserve is a fool's errand because they've already shown that they're more than willing to wipe stuff off the face of the earth. Now, that may evolve. But again, that evolution starts to dip into piracy.
Right. But then even still, right, like, going back to Willow, we'll stay on Willow for this, right? Let's say something wiped out the server, right, and it disappeared. I'm sure there is a backup copy, right? But the thing is, you're not going to spend any time to upload that and put it back into existence because you already deplatformed it, right? So,
well, the publishers won't.
Right.
But there are backup copies on piracy servers.
No. I'm saying that from a legal avenue. Right, from a legal avenue, if something were to happen to the copy that is on digital, they're not going to spend the time, effort, or money to put it back on. So at that point, it really is lost forever. Because even though there is a copy that I'm sure they have in the warehouse, it's never going to be put back on for anybody to be able to see other than through the piracy method.
Right. And I think that's a very unfair position to put consumers in, is that, regardless of whether you like it or not, if you want access to it, the only way to access it is by breaking the law.
Right. But that's the position that you have chosen to put people in. Now, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that
it's just the reality of where we're at.
That's exactly right.
And it gets even trickier with games, because games, it's the same type of thing. There's a slew of lost games, right?
Sure.
And it's much harder to get access to those. And then you start to open, if you choose to go the piracy route, you start to open yourself up to viruses and malware and the possibility of having identity stolen or hardware bricked. And, that's not something that any corporation should be putting their consumer through.
Right. Just because you wanted to play a game that you decided you weren't going to allow them to play anymore. And that's the the dangerous waters that the consumer is willing to swim through, because that's the only choice. You've given them no other option other than that, because you've chosen to gatekeep and say, nope, we're no longer going to allow you the access of that.
All right. So that brings us on to our last point for the breakdown, and that is there a way back? So will physical media become a premium collector's market?
I think it'll return, but not to the level that it used to be.
Right.
I don't think it'll ever return to that level.
Is it going at least in the immediate future, right? Is it going to be something that, I'm sitting on all these DVDs? Like a good example, right? When Dogma first came out on DVD, right? I bought it.
Okay.
And I had a copy of Dogma.
Yeah.
And then all that bullshit with Weinstein, where he wouldn't release the rights and they wouldn't press new DVDs and stuff. The value of those DVDs shot through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Through the roof. And I mean, obviously that's done now because now Kevin Smith has the rights again.
Right.
But my point is, are we going to see a situation like that where, because no one is manufacturing discs anymore, that eventually the supply gets wiped out and you can't go to like FYE and buy a $3 DVD anymore? It's all going to be 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 for all these old DVDs because of the scarcity of them.
Yeah, I mean that's your typical supply and demand situation where that is going to happen. I mean, if there's 10 copies of a DVD in existence, those copies are going to cost you an arm and a leg to purchase if you want one, because that's it. There are 10, and it's not like you can go anywhere and get more. And if they're not going to be printing more, then you want to get your hands on it. Yeah, you're whatever it was at the time, $8, $10, $15 DVD now is $200.
Right.
And if you want it that badly, I mean, you're going to have to shell the cash out for it.
So, I think that's a very real possibility that we'll see, physical media becoming a premium sort of collector's item in the near future. When I say near future, I what I mean is in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
When these things actually start to come to fruition.
Physical media is gonna be just like vintage toys. Whatever is out there, and if you have it and somebody wants it, how much are you willing to spend to get it?
For it?
Right.
Another question is, so with PC games, right? It's generally a digital download, right? But
right.
the difference between a PC game and maybe a PlayStation sort of game or a movie or something is when you download a game, whether it's on Steam or whatever, that game is downloaded to your computer.
Right.
So you have, quote, it's a digital copy, but you have it.
Right.
So even if they delist it from Steam. So like a perfect example is Mortal Kombat 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had Freddy Krueger as a guest character, and
yes,
the license expired, and as a result, you can no longer purchase that game.
Right.
Right?
Right.
However, I bought it, so I can play it.
Right.
I have it. I can download it. I can play it. It's mine to keep forever.
Sure.
So the question is that sort of an avenue that, without giving up the digital side of things, that these companies can sort of go down where, yes, it's still digital, but there is a copy saved to your device. So even if we delist it, you own that copy.
I think if you're and Sony being a prime example here, if your intent is to get rid of all physical media, I think you have to do that. I think that the only way that you can rightfully sell it to your fan base is, you're not going to get a physical copy, but you are going to get a download that is yours, that regardless of what happens to us, we go out of business, we lose the license, whatever it might be.
If the server shuts down,
right, you're in no danger of losing your purchase.
Now the follow-up to that is, because that's not how it stands right now,
right,
obviously, but I think if we do truly see a fully digital future, which again, this is what it seems to be, do the governments get involved?
I mean, they're going
right,
to.
But is that the only way that, that's the only incentive that these companies would have to sort of follow the PC marketplace and actually allow you to have a copy?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to get it regulated by the government. I think there's going to have to be laws in place to protect the consumer. I think you have to do that. And as much as no one wants the government involved, because it always gets messy and it never ends well, realistically, you have to have consumer protection. And so, I think inevitably that has to happen.
And then, the next point is basically what we've agreed to at this point is that subscriptions are becoming the default for entertainment.
Sure.
I mean, there's Game Pass and PlayStation Plus for your games. Mm-hmm. You don't own any of those games. They can take them off as they see fit.
Right.
Netflix, you don't own any of those movies. They can take them off as they see fit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the default for entertainment now, is just subscription-based renting of all of your entertainment.
Right. Exactly.
And then the last point before we finish up with the breakdown is, will the younger generation even care about owning media?
I think like everything, it'll come around again. I do think that it'll come around again where that will be something, because everything experiences a resurgence. Everything.
I don't think it'll come around. Like I said, I think everyone will be complacent and fine with it until they're not. Right.
But I still think, though, that there is always going to be the pull of nostalgia, where younger generations are going to want to experience, like, hey, that looks cool, I want that. And so that being said, I think there'll be a resurgence, not to the degree that it was, but I do think you'll see it come back in a form, maybe for a short amount of time. But I think that we could see 20, 30 years go by where it's gone forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I can see a long time where physical media is no longer and everything is digital, because
unless something drastic happens. Unless something absolutely beloved gets pulled.
And even then, it'd probably take more than one.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it would take a few really big, beloved properties to be gone forever for the uprising to happen. But if one, happens, I think they'd be like, whatever. And as long as everything else is safe, okay, we'll deal with it.
So maybe physical media isn't dying solely because companies forced it out. Maybe it's also dying because consumers voted for the convenience every time they click download.
Yeah.
All right, and that's the breakdown for this week. Let's get into off the cuff.
Okay.
You want to go first or second?
No, you go.
All right. So my off the cuff this week is I enjoy streaming my I do. I like streaming my content.
Sure.
Nothing will ever beat a magical movie theater experience.
No, never.
And I mean, in recent memory, right? I don't have a ton of recent movie theater experiences, but some that come to mind are when Sony did Spider-Man 2, not Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is spoilers for a 15-year-old movie or whatever, but when Gwen Stacy dies, right?
Yep.
I saw that in the big IMAX down, the Jordan's Furniture IMAX or whatever, and it was a full house, and you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
Right? That's a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Another moment in Avengers, right? In Endgame, when Black Widow died, people were crying.
Yeah.
In the theater, people clapping, people laughing. I mean, you cannot simulate that experience at home. Mm-hmm. That is the one thing that I think streaming will never have on a movie theater. Look, is that magical.
I'm older than you, obviously, so I've seen older. Rocky 3, when he wins, the theater
cheers.
Was screaming, standing, cheering, every high-fiving. Like, it was, you were going crazy to next to people you don't know, but everybody was doing the same thing. Like, the theater was rocking.
And that's the thing, is there is, and we covered this on the episode The Death of Movie Theaters, there is a magic to a movie theater, right?
Yeah.
And I do think we are losing that.
Sure.
As theaters become less and less relevant.
Absolutely.
But nothing on this planet will beat watching a movie in a packed house and having the audience react in real time to what's going on screen. I mean, it is
organically real-time reactions, not like that shit with Minecraft when the kids were doing, it
was just a meme for them.
Like, that was all pre-planned. That was made to be a TikTok meme. Organic real-time reaction, there is nothing like that.
Right, people clapping at the climax of a movie, or when the hero triumphs over the villain. Like, there is just a I would get chills with those experiences, because it really just reinforced how important these properties were to so many people in the moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt, that is one of the greatest experiences that you can have.
And I think I think a younger generation does not get those experiences.
No, they haven't experienced it, so they don't know what they're missing. And I guarantee if they were able to go back in time and see what it was like, they would probably want that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, It would still be a thing today.
It is magical.
It is, for sure.
So that's my off the cuff.
Okay. Mine is, and I'm going to stick with movies. You can like whatever movie you like.
Of course.
You cannot go online and gaslight and pretend that factual information isn't real because it offends your sensitive feelings. So what I mean by that is, like, let's take Masters of the Universe, right? I still have yet to see it. I haven't got to see it yet. You saw it. We talked about it last time. You liked it. It's
Loved
a failure.
It is.
It's a financial failure.
Yep.
You can go online and say, I loved Masters of the Universe. What you can't say is, if somebody says to you, that movie sucked, what a flop, you can't debate that and say that person's wrong.
No, they're not.
That is, you can like what you like, but stop gaslighting online and stop pretending that shit that flopped isn't a flop. Like Supergirl right now. Supergirl is an unmitigated, absolute disaster.
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire.
But if you like it, cool.
Yeah, no worries.
But do not then try to say, oh no, you're this, that, or the other. You're completely wrong. That movie is a flop. But you can't debate that fact.
I would go even deeper than that. And, you can't scratch your head and go, I don't know why they didn't make another one.
Right. That too.
It fucking failed.
Right. But that doesn't mean you can't like it.
Right. You can still like it.
You can like it all you want, but you can't stop going on to social media and just being a fucking troll.
Well, you can't. It's interesting that this is your off the cuff because you can have an emotional connection to the movie, right? Mm-hmm. And to the artistry and to the plot and everything.
Yeah.
But and that's 100. You want to debate that online with people that are like, oh, the plot sucked. Go for it. Fucking run that up the.
Yeah, you can debate that portion of it for sure.
But you can't take the emotional attachment you have to the art and apply that to the business side of it.
Right.
Because just because you loved the movie, it is a commercial failure.
Right. And
that doesn't matter how emotionally invested you are to it.
Right.
It's a failure.
But the people that are saying that, you can't say they're wrong. They are right. They are right. 100%. You are wrong by saying it's not that, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. And enjoy it for what it is.
I would even go a step further and say that doesn't mean it's a bad film.
No, that doesn't. No, everything I heard about Masters of the Universe, you included, people loved it.
Yeah.
So again, this movie I think is going to do great when it gets released on streaming. But that's a different thing. That movie may be a great movie and people love it, but you can't debate what it did at the theater.
No, it I don't even think it hit black.
No.
Which is a shame.
Right.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. And it's a shame Supergirl is failing as miserably as it is.
Shame.
It's a shame, but and again, if you liked it and that's your thing, cool. All the power to you on that.
Debates.
Right. It is.
I think that's the problem is that it's no, if someone is shitting on the movie because I haven't seen Supergirl, but if someone is shitting on Supergirl because they didn't like the plot and you're sitting there going, I like the plot. Fight them to the fucking death on that.
Yeah, you can talk about what maybe they missed something. Or maybe you miss something. You know what I mean? You can have an open debate about the element of the movie, and you may not change anybody's mind, but you can have a conversation on differing opinions. But you can't debate fact as pretending fact isn't real. And that's my biggest issue with what I see online is, people, it's like, oh, it's not a flop. You know what? It's not a flop. It's a flop because of this, and then of course all the excuses of why it's a flop.
But at the end of
whatever
the day,
it is.
Right. At the end of the day, it's a flop because people didn't show up for it.
Right.
So
and it doesn't matter the reasoning why.
A flop, whether it's a good movie or a bad movie. Right. People didn't show up for it.
It didn't make money.
People didn't show up for Masters of the Universe. It's a flop.
Right. And that's my point is it's two separate debates. Be mature enough to understand the differences, and have actual conversations like a person as opposed to just being a troll for the sake of being a troll.
Now, that being said, Evil Dead was a flop at the theater.
Sure.
And it's a cult classic now.
Oh,
so that's
tons
the thing,
of movies
is that being a flop doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Right.
It just means that it didn't make the money that either went into it or was anticipated to make. And
Blade Runner was a flop at the movies and now considered one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made.
Right. So that's the point, is that, you can argue the emotional side of the art. If you liked Supergirl, fine. We can have a discussion. When I see it, if I like it, I'll defend it. And if I don't like it, I'll stick by my points. However, regardless of how I feel about the actual film, you cannot attach your emotions to the fact that people didn't show up.
Right.
At the end of the day, unfortunately, this is a business, and the businesses need to make money. And if they don't get return on their investment for the properties, they're considered failures.
Right. And, again, if potential plans for sequels get cut because of that, it's unfortunate if the movie was actually good, but the business is the business, and you have to accept it for what it is.
And you also shouldn't be triggered by someone telling you that it was a flop
when it was.
just based solely on the numbers.
Right.
Like, if they're just attacking you from the business side of things, like if I'm arguing that I liked Master of the Universe and someone says, oh, it was a flop, yeah, you're totally right. It sucks that people didn't show up, but it's a good fucking movie.
We both like Superman, but we have to both admit Superman didn't make
do the
money.
Numbers. It didn't do the numbers.
So, is it considered a flop? Yeah, financially it is.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun.
We still liked the movie. Both of us have sung its praises.
Yep.
So, again, that's
the thing, is you can't allow that element of the debate to trigger you, because then what ends up happening is you start throwing out, oh, well, people didn't show up because it's a female main character or blah 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 blah, and it's like, no, it doesn't fucking matter why people didn't show up.
Right.
They didn't show up. And for you not to agree that it's a flop, you can agree it's a flop and love it.
Right. Exactly. And that's my whole point, is accept it for what it is. You have to accept the facts of reality, and you could have your own personal opinion of how you feel about it, but you can't debate the facts.
Right. It's just two different arguments.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So that's our off the cuff for this week. Let's get into the watch list. What do you got?
All right. So I got two movies.
All right. Cool.
All right. So the first one I watched is They Will Kill You.
I saw that.
You saw this. This movie is a bunch of fun.
It's fun.
It's just brainless, stupid fun.
Yeah, it's kind of got that Evil Dead campiness to it.
Exactly. And again, I'm not, you don't go into it thinking it's high art, because it isn't.
Not. It's not high. You know what's funny about it, though, is like there's almost just a kiss on the forehead of, when they're going floor by floor, and there's kind of that allegory of each level is Dante's hell.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is this going to be deeper than it actually is? And then it's not.
No, it's not. But it, what is it? An hour and a half. It's a tight
movie,
right? And it's just fun. The kills are gory.
Yep, they're awesome.
It's funny.
Zazie Beetz is great.
Yeah, you got some big name. I didn't know that was Patricia Arquette until the end.
Yep,
like
Patricia Arquette.
You could see Heather Graham and Tom Felton. Right, you got some big name actors in this, but I give that a watch. Absolute watch.
Yeah. All right. So that's a stream it.
Yeah, that's a stream it. The other thing I caught was Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
I also watched that.
This movie was the most paint by number horror trope, just absolute, nothing movie whatsoever. But I say watch it. I'm giving this because I did, at the end of the day, as bland as it was,
it is bland,
as formulaic as it was, I didn't hate it at the end of the movie.
You know what's interesting about The Mummy is it also has Evil Dead vibes to it.
Yeah.
With the tongue under the door and all that shit. Like, it does have that almost incredibly grotesque.
Yeah. A lot of body horror.
Sort of, and there's almost some humor to it, too.
Yeah. But it ended, and like I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is so paint by numbers.
Yeah.
This is every trope that you've ever seen.
You know what my biggest issue with that movie is?
What's that?
It's too long.
It is too long.
It's way too long.
Yeah. That was my biggest gripe as well. At the end of it, I'm like, as I didn't hate it, but it was too long.
It's too long.
It's way too long. A lot of stuff could have been cut out. But I say stream it, but know that it's not good.
And then the other issue I had with it was it didn't have to be a mummy movie.
No.
Because it doesn't really come off like a mummy movie.
No.
It could have been. I agree that it's paint by numbers, but it's very much possession paint by numbers film.
Right.
So it's very much
exactly
that. And I think that hurts it. Because when you go into it with the Mummy is such an interesting property because I think for most people, right, the Brendan Fraser Mummy and Mummy Returns, never mind that third one.
Right.
Like, that is the pinnacle of the Mummy. It's a fun adventure film. There's some light horror in it. And there's nothing wrong with Karloff's Mummy, but I think if we're talking about the Mummy, that's the mountaintop.
Yeah, and it took the Karloff Mummy and incorporated it, but in a much more satirical way, and in a much I mean, like the same elements of the movie in what the whole Mummy premise was in there. It's just so much more fun of a ride
in the Brendan Fraser one.
Right.
But in this one, I went into it thinking, all right, it's a mummy movie. It's going to be a mummy movie. And it's not.
No, it isn't.
It's very much a possession film that has a mummy skin on it.
Right. So, absolutely.
But I don't think you're wrong. I think that if you're looking for something that's kind of gross, because it is gross.
It is.
If you're looking for something that's kind of gross, a little bit fun, very safe, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right. So those are my two.
So double stream
for those.
All right, cool. So I also have two.
Okay.
So I watched the Backrooms.
Oh, okay.
I did watch it. I would say stream it. I would say wait until it comes out on video. Stream it. It's not worth it. To me, personally, it's not worth the theater.
Okay.
It's very good at building tension. I think that they nail the eeriness of the Backrooms.
Okay.
I would have liked more out of it.
Sure. Okay.
I think that they did a lot right. I think the set production is fucking fantastic.
Nice.
But I think ultimately sort of the creatures and the payoff are a little mediocre for me.
Okay.
So, but I would still say stream it. I think it's, if for no other, even if you have no interest in it, I think it's worth streaming because this is what the new generation is into. So it's good to see sort of where horror is going.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
It's a little long for my take. And again, I would have liked to have seen more happen. I think that it's decent enough with its tension and everything. I think the real star of the show is the set pieces.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think it falls a little flat. Obviously, commercial success. It's done banger numbers. Mm-hmm. But, I hope if they continue on this series that we get a little bit more sort of the weirdness of the Backrooms and the creatures that inhabit it, and we kind of go down that path more than just the character. This was just very much a character study on the people that were involved.
Okay. But a good first effort anyway.
I think a good first effort, and again, rookie director who's very young. Mm-hmm. So I think incorporating all of that, it's worth a watch.
Okay. Nice.
The second film I saw was Obsession.
Oh, okay.
This is my horror movie of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It made my stomach hurt.
Really?
It was so intense.
Nice.
I can't even. I watched it and my partner was on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And I would like grab.
Really?
When shit would happen. The thing is that it covers just so many themes, right? There's toxic relationships and dependent relationships, and ultimately, I think what the most, without getting into too many spoilers or anything, I think where the real horror comes from for me is that, I mean, we all know the premise of this, right? The kid makes a wish on a willow stick for the girl to love him.
Right.
Right. So I think ultimately, at least initially, the kid's not a bad guy, right? Like the dude who makes the wishes, he's a fucking kid who's too shy to tell the girl he likes his feelings, and he makes a fucking, like anybody makes a wish on anything, right? He makes a wish. So he's not a bad guy initially, but then as the movie progresses and you see the consequences of this wish, you start to look at this kid and go, you're kind of a bad guy in this situation. And just, the things that happen to the girl and the relationships around them, very stressful, incredible tension building.
Nice.
Absolutely my horror film of the year.
Really?
I would tell you to see it if it was still in theaters, but it's 100% streamed.
Okay, I'm gonna.
100%.
I'm looking forward to that when it comes out.
It is fantastic.
Nice.
It
nice.
earns its 95 plus.
Good.
On a shoestring budget.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, I hope we get more from. I hope we get more from these two directors because, again, if this is the direction that horror is going, it's off to
we're in a horror renaissance.
Right.
I mean, these two kids come out of nowhere, right? I mean, again, they were YouTubers and stuff,
right,
but like for first attempt films, you have incredible films. Then you have Zach Krieger, who's doing great work with like Weapons and Barbarian, and now he's got that Resident Evil movie, which I'm concerned about that, but we'll see what he does with it.
Sure.
And then you have Eggers, who's the king of the kings.
Yeah.
Coming out with Werewolf at Christmas.
Wait for that.
But that's what I'm saying is we are in a horror renaissance right now. It's incredible.
Yes. Yes.
So that's our watch list for this week. All right, so let's hit the pulse and then we'll wrap this up. So for the pulse this week, our question to the audience is, what's one entertainment trend you'd like to bring back? So, some examples: video rental stores, DVD commentary tracks, midnight movie premieres, midnight game launches, game manuals, behind-the-scenes documentaries, longer TV seasons, physical collector's editions. What's a media trend that you want to see come full circle, come back around? All right, and that's our episode for today. Jim, as always.
Nice. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Corner.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure you follow the podcast, leave us a review, write us some comments, share the episode with someone who still has a shelf full of DVDs or Blu-rays.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back in a couple weeks with another conversation about the biggest stories in entertainment. Until next time, keep creating, keep watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.